you that? And he's like, gee whiz, and I go, how do you think I feel growing up like that? I mean, he loved his parents. He was heartbroken when his dad died. But I don't think he had the lovey-lovey relationship besides the usual Italian hugs and kisses and stuff. Okay.
She gets cuter. It's all the...
Summarize it.
Bye.
Okay.
Say goodbye.
Bye. My professional career started when I was...
Everyone else looking for those books was an animator or a cartoon studio, usually Warner Brothers or Disney, except for Frank. And so his style is unique amongst all those funny animal artists.
Disney, well, they stole on me, but they knew better. Way back then, and then again and again and again. Always. They always wanted me to be part of their group. I said, no thanks. But they're all fans of mine. So I'm really proud.
And it was right after that, then he was given his own complete comic book to do called Gundam. And he did 4 complete stories plus the cover.
When I saw Gundam, I also saw the connection between Frazetta and Hal Foster.
Foster, number one man, was really, truly a great artist. So I did the Tarzan lookalike for about years and years, and they really looked like them, you know.
Here, Frank was, for the sake of making a living and taking care of his family and making a good living, of course, it's Al Cap on Little Abner.
And he asked me, you think you could do 11? Well, no, I can't go. You can do it, you can do it. All right, so I'll sit down and I'll try to draw it. So I drew it. He says, you're hard.
What he did was ghosted the feature of Little Abner. Now, what a ghost artist is a person who works behind the scenes doing all the major character work. The lead person on the strip, the person who started the strip, which is Al Cap, would then come in and oversee the
Struggling when we were younger. I've been going to the city trying to get jobs, composing the scene.
He was faced with a brick wall. Everybody looked at his material and said, we have no work for you. This is old fashioned. This is not what is selling anymore. And it was a struggle. It was a very difficult time, the most difficult time of his career. Nobody would hire Frank Frazetta.
He went through a time that most people in the comic book field went through. He went through that 50s time when comic books were attacked and EC Comics disappeared.
And the big turn in his life was the Ringo Starr ad.
He captured the essence of Ringo Starr. It's marvelously done, the technique. And sure enough, Frank's phone rang again. This time the phone was ringing from Hollywood, and they wanted him to do movie posters.
He did movie posters that were more like colored drawings, cartoons.
100 times the payment of anything he might have done for comics.
I remember taking pictures of the first check, $3,000 or $4,000. They went right up with a new color TV, big tiger couch, a big Black Panther chair, and that was a lot of money. I guess back in the 60s, 64, 65. When I was doing the for the United Artists and people like that, when suddenly the paperback field turned around and suddenly was introducing fantasy, I suddenly saw a market for what I like to do. And that's when I made the step.
So in 1962, Frazetta was given the job of working on Tarzan and the Lost Empire, which was the very first Tarzan book that Frazetta did a cover for. And he was paid very, very little. I think he was paid $150. He was not allowed to keep the original. And Frank said, all of a sudden, I started getting more and more fan mail. And the more fan mail that came in, the better I made the covers.
Frank ended up in sort of a rarefied atmosphere where his covers were so potent that they alone could sell the books regardless of what was on the inside.
He could drag you across a store and make you pick up that book.
Frazetta has a wonderful way of composing a cover which, you don't know, just seeing the book cover, whether it has anything to do with the story. But it captures this sort of archetypal, character or moment in a drama.
When you've read a certain caption in a book, a title in a book, and you have this vision in mind of what that scene might be like, Frank is one of the only people that I think actually made it better than what you envisioned in your mind.
Because we'd spent so many hours poring over the paperbacks
I finally remember when I was looking at the paperback so hard, I said, he did it with dots. Look, there's little dots there. And Steve Hickman would say, those are the printing dots, I think. Oh, yeah, probably.
I used to go back.
Material, as opposed to the Canaveral plates, which I think are a little too strokey, too much unnecessary detail.
It wasn't until I was 30 or so that I really decided that I was just going to paint. So that's when I started, really. Before that, I didn't do anything, except a few doodads here and there.
Well, when Frank's work began appearing on Eerie and Creepy and the various companions to famous monsters of filmland, they were so dynamic that other artists felt they had to try to live up.
And for that alone, that makes you rich if you want. If you want to get rich, you got rich.
The first Frazetta sketches were placed on the market in the early 1970s. They sold for $35. When you look at the face, for example, of Conan the Adventurer, the great Conan painting where he's leaning on the sword, what you're looking at is not just a picture of some little fantasy character, you're looking at the picture of the 20th century. The evil that's coming out of the earth, going up the sword, emanating and resonating from the face. And beyond that, he's not only drawing the picture of the 20th century, but he's drawing the picture of the darker side of human nature.
Even look at things like the scars on Conan's arms. These scars, these cuts were made when his arm was up to ward off a blow.
The sword and the heap of skulls and hands and things, and this girl curled at his feet. It's all there. It never gets better than that.
He could get Conan the way he does. That's it. Anything else, they'll just copy. Won't do any good. I'm sure you've seen a few of those around. Big steel metal hook. And my friends and I, being teens, we'd pound it, bing. My dad's like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're not hitting it right. You gotta drive those hips and that. Let me see, Papa. One shot, honest to God, he snapped the hook right out of the beam. And the punching bag went about 10 feet under the lawn. It's like, God damn it, Pop, thanks a lot for ruining the hook. And that's time, he's just unbelievable. His mind over matter. If he put his mind to it, you weren't gonna stop him.
You know, he's like Gary Cooper or something. It's like, don't push me around. If you push me one more time, I'll kill you. And then you do, you know, so, but he gives you a chance not to push him around. But he'll deny it.
I always let them start it. Every time, there was some guy picking on me, who's bigger than me, and saying, hey, wise guy.
You know, Frank is due tomorrow, and he would sit there and do a masterpiece in an evening. Put the coffee pot on, put the classical music on, and then it would be done.
That's right. That's the reason for it, is that Mason night was all I had. I had a good look around the house. Oh my God, there was nothing. And it had to be in the next morning. And so I found some board on the floor. I ripped it up, I cut it in half, and I painted it, whack, just right on it. I painted that in about 5 hours, like 6 hours at most.
Human form is a beautiful form in space. It's a wonderful thing. But Frazetta's is gut level sexuality.
Oh yes, we tried to get those women to look as much like Frazetta women as we could. The movement and the positioning of everything, particularly of the Wolf Witch, was very definitely designed, that whole sequence.
From thin to thick, and I wouldn't want to be the one to tell Frank that most people think that he does big asses on women.
But if you know about women's butts, you know there's muscle under that butt. That looks like it's got muscle under there. That's the kind of butt I want to see on a woman.
He'll paint women that no man would ever mess with. He'll paint soft and demure women. He'll paint women that need defending. He'll paint women in full body armor with swords. There is no limit to the range of what he does in both men and women.
What can I say?
As a director,
He was about 65 when he died, and I was maybe 12. And it was during that time that I was being invited to go to Europe and so on. And but because he died. That was the end of that. But and that ended the art school. It's a shame too, because had he lived, things would have happened.
So what year was that? 1964, right? We met Frank?
55.
54, 55, right. But we met Frank that morning, and Gibson and young, like 2 were playing softball in the schoolyard, right, on Myrtle Avenue under the yellow.
And our friendship was formed from then on.
No, I played most. The thrill of hitting that ball was mind-boggling. It's such a thrill, you know. Seems silly, but that's the game.
When you hit up on everything, you used to pop them way up. I think you hit one over the center field.
Sure, she's still there.